And my dad and my granddad would try and tell me about this music, but I mean, I'm a baby, what will I understand about jazz? But a lot of that remained later on, because now when I listen to the jazz music that I do, I keep getting thrown back to, yes, the memories of my granddad listening to that kind of music, and I remember certain pieces which have stayed in, which is the amazing part. The fact that I was in the same room as my granddad when he was listening to that, and he would religiously listen to it with patience. So I think that's what I learned. It's about having that patience when you listen to any kind of music. You've got to have that patience to listen to any kind of creation that's being done by anybody. That allows you to appreciate it more, that's all. Alright, hi, my name is Luke Kenny, and I'm a music aficionado, and I'm an actor once in a while, and I do lots of other creative things with like-minded people wherever I can be contributive. And here I am today, savoring this nice hot chocolate at Adagio. A very dear friend and colleague from the music industry, Mr. Parag Kamani, told me about, there's this place in Bandra, every Thursday they listen to albums on vinyl, you should come and check them out and stuff like that. So yes, of course I came with Parag, and when I discovered this place I was really quite pleasantly surprised. And of course then I met Aman, and the passionate man that he is for the cause of vinyl particularly, and the music on vinyl being secondary. Of course, the fact that he wanted people to experience music on the vinyl format, which has been, it's still considered one of the greatest formats to listen to music on as well also. So I was pleasantly surprised that a space has been created specifically to listen to music on vinyl, and there are quite a lot of like-minded people who do come in regularly and partake of that experience. So I thought that was quite amazing. I love the fact how everything was Zeppelinized. I mean, you walk in through the front door, and then on the door handle is in through the outdoor, which is one of the Led Zeppelin album titles. And of course, I got to know that Aman is a huge Led Zeppelin fan. And so there's lots of, once you come to this space, you'll see there's a huge Zeppelin wall right behind me, and there's the wizard holding the light and so on and so forth. So yes, apart from that, it's completely and whole, 120 and 30, 40, actually 3,000% dedicated to the experience of music. There are music classes, there are music listening sessions, there's books on music that you can pick up and read. But it also functions as a workspace. And other than music, there are also other activities that happen. You've got sound meditation, you've got yoga, you've got open mics, there's comedy, there's also upcoming musicians wanting to come and play their own stuff as well also. So it's a creative space per se at the outset, but its core is the experience of music in a form where you need to be patient and immerse yourself in the whole listening experience. Well, my connection has so far been only till the vinyl music listening sessions that generally happen every Thursday. When I came for the first few, I kind of suggested it to Aman that because I also have a huge music collection, a lot of it is bootlegs and unreleased versions and things like that. And so when I saw that there are enough like-minded people who are coming and listening to the album in the way that it was intended to be, over time, all those artists have released a lot more additional material pertaining to that particular album or to those particular songs as well also, which a lot of people might or might not know about. So I suggested to Aman, is there a way that I can connect to this, because I have all this material and it'll be great to share it with a like-minded audience. Then he was more than happy to allow me to do that as well also. So for the few sessions, whichever one I could make them for, make two, whichever ones I could attend. I brought a little extended play, like an additional 7 or 8 songs which are connected to the album per se, and I'll play those, I'll talk about them and so on and so forth. So that's been my connection to Adagio so far, and who knows what the future holds. I grew up I was born in India for all practical purposes. I was born in Calcutta. but I was a baby when my grandparents and my father we moved to Bombay, and then over time as Bombay became Mumbai, so did my evolution take place as well also. I grew up in a completely cosmopolitan upbringing. I mean, there were people from all walks of life around me. So at no point in time did I feel outsider per se. But yes, to a certain extent, because of the way I looked, I was always the white boy, a small town white boy trying to make ends meet, like the song says. But jokes apart, no, it was always a very assimilating experience, and I stood out for whatever other reasons that I stood out for. But I was never made to feel that you're different from the rest of us. I thought I was different from the rest of everybody. But again, jokes apart, it was a really fun experience, and it still is. So it sometimes becomes a little bit of a problem in hindrance when it comes to work, when it comes to acting work per se, because then you're perceived as a foreigner, and they only ask you to do foreigner roles, which is something that's my own struggle. But otherwise, I'm just one of you guys. Well, my granddad was a jazz drummer back in the 50s in Delhi. In his older years, when I was a baby growing up, he would listen to a lot of these jazz stations on radio. And my dad was at work, and I was back home from school. I was still a small boy then. I was really not musically evolved. And I would listen to all these sounds that he would religiously tune into regularly and listen to all these jazz stations, because the music was not really as easily available back then. So the only contact was radio. And then I remember listening to all these songs, from shows like Voice of America to Radio Ceylon and so on and so forth. They would have these jazz hours, and they'd play all this jazz music. And my dad and my granddad would try and tell me about this music, but I'm a baby, what will I understand about jazz? But a lot of that remained later on, because now when I listen to the jazz music that I do, I keep getting thrown back to, yes, the memories of my granddad listening to that kind of music, and I remember certain pieces which have stayed in, which is the amazing part. Like, how does a jazz song, which is not really a populist song or not a pop song, stick in your brain? It's the melodies, right? So I get thrown back to those kind of melodies from back in time. So I guess the fact that I was in the same room as my granddad when he was listening to that, and he would religiously listen to it with patience. So I think that's what I learned. It's about having that patience when you listen to any kind of music, particularly when you're listening to long pieces of music, like classical pieces, jazz pieces, or even prog rock pieces, which are like 11 and 15 minutes long. You've got to have that patience to listen to any kind of creation that's being done by anybody. That allows you to appreciate it more, that's all. See, education, there is a reason why a certain structure of education exists in the human evolution construct. It's meant to be completed in a certain way, and unless you have a greater plan, and unless you have a definite path for that plan, the choice is yours. Nobody will advise anybody to not study or to not complete education or to not go to college. It's all part of the structure. Now, if you have a certain thought process where you feel that structure is not for me, find a relevant alternative structure that you know is for you, where you can flourish with your creativity. If you do not have a backup plan, then I would say don't let go of the plan that you have. It's like when you talk about full-time musicians who have day jobs. The first thing that they say is don't quit your day job, because hey, you never know when your next music gig is going to come, right? But having said that, when it comes to what I did is something, it's case to case. Every individual has his or her own different kind of trajectory that they're on. But if you feel that you have a better plan and you have all the elements and all the components in place to fructify that concrete plan, then yes, it's still your choice. When you're in front of the camera, all you need to think about is what the director wants from you, what your character is all about, and what you need to convey from a storytelling perspective, regardless of the platform that it's going to be on. Whether it's going to be on television, whether it's going to be on the net, whether it's going to be in theaters. that is, as an actor, that is your main thing. The platform that it goes on is secondary. I mean, everything that is on in the theaters at some point in time goes online. So it's still going onto the web anyway. But coming back to web series versus films, the only difference is the time that you need to take visually to tell a story. For theaters, you know you've got to finish it in 2.5 hours. Whereas on streaming, if it's a web series, you know you've got 8 hours to tell that story. So it's just a matter of the narrative being restructured. As an actor, you still have to go out and do the same thing that the director wants of you as a character. For Rock On, the preparation was not really much because it was a music film, and the preparation was fairly technical because I don't really play the keyboard, and I had to get a bit of a coaching from a keyboard playing musician. Jarvis taught me, so that I played the right keys, the right chords for when the song was played, and when the camera would come onto my hands to show that I was playing the right key. So that kind of preparation. So I needed to learn the chords to the songs of Rock On per se. And as far as Sacred Games goes, that was something that I'd never really done. I've never really been a cold-blooded assassin, just popping people off at the top of a hat. So that was really interesting to do. It's a restrained piece. It's a subdued role. It's minimal dialogue. It's minimal expression as well, also. But yet at the same time, it's all in the eyes, as they say. So all of that, was kind of quite a thing to churn around in my head. So many. Oh, let's see. Who have I done? See, the idea of also doing a tribute came about at a time when there was not that kind of music that was being played. So the first tribute that I ever did was a tribute to the Doors, and I walked into the Blue Frog office at that time. It was, I think, just before Rock On was supposed to release. It was July of 2008. And I went and just suggested to them, like, you guys have a lot of indie bands playing all this kind of music, which is great, but there's a lot of music out there that people are not really listening to, or they're kind of forgetting, and they're not really remembering. And plus, I went and out and did tributes purely for the sake of because I love the music that the bands were playing, that bands that I paid tribute to. And I wanted to give the listeners an experience of only that particular band's music, as opposed to a cover band that plays, a multitude of various different kinds of classic hits. So they were really, really interested because the music of the Doors, which has poetry and has theatre, it's got histrionics attached to it, along with some really, really quirky songwriting as well. So I thought I could put together a nice, oral and visual experience of the Doors. And that's how it all started. From that, one thing led to another, and then I became this, Luke Kelly does good tributes, let's go to him. So I ended up doing Rolling Stones tributes, I did a tribute to Nirvana, I've done a tribute to Elvis Presley, I did a tribute to Michael Jackson. The only tribute that happened in the city after Michael Jackson died was the one that I did at Blue Frog, which was about 3 hours long. Which was complete. It was dance performance, it was music videos, and of course it was playing the music live with a great set of musicians. And there are so many artists that I'd love to do, but I can't because I don't have that, I'd love to do a Led Zeppelin tribute, but I can't because I can't sing Robert Plant. I'd have to probably reversion all the songs, which then would kind of defeat the purpose. I'd love to do Guns N' Roses, what a great album, what a great band. But then again, it's really difficult to sing Axl. You have to generally just bring everything down and sing it in a comfortable key. But it's not the same thing, not the same fun as well also. So I don't know. I'd love to do a YouTube tribute. I think I can get through to YouTube, and then again they're my countrymen as well, also from many generations ago. So sponsors out there, please start writing those checks. Okay, one of my favorite albums from the thousands of albums that are my favorites is an album that kind of started the whole rock thing for me. Was Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. This came out in 1985 at a time when pop music was at its peak. American pop music, British pop music. You had Michael Jackson, you had Madonna, you had George Michael, you had all these really, really pop stuff, really like bubblegum stuff coming out, and then in comes this album which kind of sets off the whole the hair metal explosion, which was like Motley Crue, Poison, Cinderella, Rat, and all of that kind of stuff. Although they weren't really glam, but it kind of, they were more hard edge. They were more compared to the Rolling Stones back then, because they were the Bad Boys and so on and so forth. But yes, over and above that, the collection of songs on this album is a great culmination of their struggle from the time that they started out in the early 80s as struggling musicians, or leaving home, or just moving to another city in search of wanting to play music, wanting to play rock and roll music per se. So in fact, so the opening song, Welcome to the Jungle, is exactly about what coming into. I mean, it's a great metaphor for an artist when that artist is particularly setting out with absolutely no support and only on the back of talent. It is you are entering a huge jungle of massive proportions, where you've got to like fight all kinds of demons and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's why he says, where you are, you're in the jungle, baby. You're gonna die if you don't get help from Mr. Brownstone. Thank you. Give time. What do I get? Chalo khelte hai. A t-shirt. Thank you very much. What else is in here? What else is in here? I'll get blow by blow. How nice. Jeff Beck, one of the greatest guitarists after. I mean, I think he's probably even transcended Hendrix to a large extent, by virtue of just doing what he does really best, which is just playing really, really good guitar. So yes, thank you very much for this, Adagio. And what else we got? Adagio Branch. We got a Adagio Band. State of Mind. Do I need to open this up?
Yes.
It has $5 million in it. Oh, this is so sweet. And it's a handwritten note. Do I need to read it? No. Welcome to the State of Mind. Thank you for all the trivia and the extended players. The Adagio community has totally dug it as you dig that hot chocolate. Oh yes, I sure do.